Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to a brand new episode of our series, Like It Ain't. Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
I am John Pelham, and I have with me this evening
Nicole Drew.
And Vic Benito. What's going on, people?
Yes. It's another week of a lot of stuff going on. You know, when we put together these shows, we already have a topic in mind early in the week that we're like discussing or building about or throwing videos back and forth about. And then stuff just keeps happening that involves our people, you know, that makes you just say, okay, well, we're talking about this now, you know, but we continue to keep speaking about the same narratives, unfortunately. You know, Mike Brown, it just keeps going. Trayvon, you know, now you have this young dude, what's his name? Dwayne Wright is his name?
Dante Wright.
Dante. Thank you. Dante Wright. It just keeps going. So, but we're going to start this evening with our main topic. We're going to fit in a little bit of a weekend review, and then we want to end on a good, fun high note. So, the topic for tonight is ethnic. This stuff really gets me here.
Hey, Mom.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening to the mother. Yes, Sharon Drew is in the house. Both literally and figuratively. So anyway, okay. So we are going to get to tonight's topic, which is ethnic stereotypes. And first, we're going to break down ethnic stereotypes that Hollywood perpetrated against Black people, and then the ethnic stereotypes of Asians. And we'll talk about it. So we're going to play this video. We're going to play this. What's so funny? What you laughing about?
Just that's all right. We'll talk about it on the other side.
Okay. That was so grown. That was so grown the way she handled that. I'm sorry. Anyway. Okay. And so I would suggest for anyone watching, this is going to be a 5-minute video. So if there are certain things you want to comment, maybe take a little note, quick little notations, you know, so that when we come back, we can discuss all of this together. All right. So let's run the first video.
There's a long history of grotesque racist caricatures depicting Black people as childlike, animalistic, or lazy to justify slavery and the systemic mistreatment of Black people.
Cops everywhere staring down the barrel of a gun at a Black man don't see a human being. They see a caricature, a thug, a...
Slavery's defenders used these depictions to argue that the institution couldn't be amoral because Black people enjoyed serving white families. Hardworking and loyal, the mammy figure was painted as deeply devoted to her white family. Proponents of slavery used the mammy to suggest that, far from being abused, Black women were beloved and willing surrogate mothers to the families they served. But historians have found little evidence to substantiate the idea that enslaved Black women were even commonly working in the home, as the mammy trope suggests. Those slaves who were assigned to housework were likely to be light-skinned, skinny, and quite young. Aggressively desexualizing the mammy helped to conceal the fact that many house slaves, especially women, were frequently sexually abused by their white masters. Arguably, the modern trope of the Black best friend, too, can be seen as the partial descendant of the mammy, since this character's role is to constantly provide support, and sometimes tough love, to the white main character. The male version of the faithful servant caricature was the docile, pious, and extremely subservient Uncle Tom. Ironically, this type originated from Harriet Beecher Stowe's extremely popular abolitionist novel, Uncle Tom's Cabin, in which the devout Tom nobly chooses to sacrifice his life rather than sell out other runaway slaves. But Stowe's abolitionist message was lost in popular pro-slavery minstrel stage adaptations of her novel, which morphed Uncle Tom into a degrading caricature so devoted to serving that he was more than willing to backstab other Black people. Films also portrayed Uncle Tom characters as totally subservient.
Put that big smile back on your face.
Which one? This one?
The Sambo caricature, essentially a slow-witted, happy slave, sent the message that black people were childlike, lazy, and perpetually smiling.
I thought of it all by myself.
Well, you must be thinking better than you used to, James Henry.
Yes, Master Curd. I even think more often now.
This caricature is at least as old as America, but was popularized by 19th century blackface minstrel theater performers with painted-on smiles, and it promoted the idea that black people liked being enslaved because they were simple-minded, perpetual children unable to care for themselves. The coon caricature similarly ridiculed the idea that black people could successfully integrate as free members of American society. Like the Sambo, these coons, also called zip coons and urban coons, were depicted as lazy and unintelligent.
Well, why don't you get a job and go to work? You almost had me a job this morning.
However, while the Sambo was content to be a slave, the coon wanted to be free. Minstrel shows and beyond derived their humor from mocking this aspiration as ludicrous, showing the coon trying and failing to assimilate into white society, speaking in malapropisms, dressing flamboyantly, and avoiding work at all costs.
When the man said before he could give me a situation, he'd have to put me through a simple self-examination. No, stupid. You mean a civil service examination.
The idea that black women are inherently sassy
Ma'am, this over-the-counter diaper cream is prohibited.
has much earlier roots in a subsection of the mammy trope known as the sassy mammy.
Miss Scarlett, where are you going without your shawl and night air fixing to set in?
In more recent years, black women's perceived anger has shifted from being focused at their families to being directed at society.
You owe me an apology. I have never cheated in my life.
Today, the sapphire remains a fixture in reality TV, and the angry black woman trope has been weaponized against any black woman who dares to speak out against systemic oppression and injustice perpetrated against her, even being leveled at accomplished professional women like Michelle Obama and Serena Williams.
I was called an angry black woman.
Finally, a third category of pervasive stereotypes paints black people as animalistic. Whereas the Mammy and the Tom caricatures were purposefully desexualized, certain caricatures portrayed black people as wild or animalistic by hypersexualizing them.
I know I'm not good enough for you, but let me have your precious white body just once.
The Jezebel caricature portrays a black woman who is lascivious and insatiable by nature. During slavery, this caricature was commonly utilized to justify the common sexual abuse of black women by white men.
Queen of the field she is.
And to this day, black women face a double standard that judges them as being too sexual, even when they make the same clothing choices that are accepted for white women. For black men, hypersexualization took the shape of the aggressive, amoral buck or brute caricature, also known as the mandingo.
Be my victim.
To this day, it is not unusual for black male characters to be described as more virile,
Anything is possible when your man smells like Old Spice and not a lady.
naturally strong, or athletic. Going back to Birth of a Nation and 1933's King Kong, which can be read as a racist allegory about a black man stealing a white woman before she's rescued by heroic white men, movies have helped propagate the dangerous lie that hypersexual black men are a danger to white women. This myth has had devastating real-world consequences.
Yeah. Any initial thoughts? Vic?
Nicole, I'll give this one to Nicole first.
Well, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
We can hear you.
I'm still trying to get those buds working. But, well, yeah, I mean, I think I actually agree with Mikkel, you know, where it's so bad, it's laughable, you know, the hypersexualized, you know, black people, and you know, which is still going on today. I mean, we still deal with these things today, you know, and the disrespect in terms of our intellect, you know, and one of the things that stood out to me too actually was watching how children learn, you know, this behavior. So you have children who are being taught to treat adult black people like a child, and like they're an imbecile, incapable of learning. Like they don't, you know, like they have no respect for them.
Right.
So, and you get that now, you know, and then they grow up to be adults to, you know,
then teach their children the same.
You know, I was going to call names, but I mean, you know, just, you know, we'll wait for the conviction. But, you know, people getting jobs in law enforcement and not treating Black people like humans.
Right. That's this whole entire narrative. So we know, I mean, Vic mentioned in the episode where we talked about Sidney Poitier and many other people who came to this, who are foreigners to this country, they learn English from television and from movies sometimes, or they learn to perfect it through that. So movies and television they're definitely tools for learning, even though they try to just keep saying, well, it's entertainment, it means nothing, but it really does. So now imagine generations of people being brought up seeing this as what Black people are.
And I'm sorry, Vic. But
no, go ahead.
I just wanted to say one more thing. You know, I remember talking to this man I met. This was just like years ago. I met this gentleman. He was from Africa, and he liked white women because that's what he grew up looking at as the epitome of beauty. And then I also, you know, have a lot of friends. And we've had several discussions about this. They're from the Caribbean islands, and they used to tell me about how their what they were, you know, getting from the media about particularly American Black people was they're lazy, you know, and so they had to come to this country and prove them wrong, you know, and so they you know, you get these images and from television, you know, just to that point, you know, there are a lot of people who are, you know, just even outside of America, but I mean, you know, still here in America as well, but, you know, just even the people outside of America now are looking at, okay, Black people are lazy, Black people don't like to work, you know, and I used to tell them all the time, well, I don't know where you get that from, because when I was growing up, I mean, I had 2 people in my household that showed me you're not lazy, you're not, you know, unintelligent, you're not going to sit home and not work. You know, my mother was, you know, if you didn't have a summer job, you were going out of the house to do something, so you better go volunteer somewhere.
See,
you know,
Vic, any thoughts?
Yeah, just looking at that is funny because I just spent most of the night with my wife watching them, thanks to you and the recommendation. And man, this series really personified and exemplified everything that we're discussing now, and those images that we saw in those clips. Like, I don't know if you
of that show.
Yeah, we definitely do. Have you guys gotten a chance to see it yet?
No.
Is it like a horror film? Because it looked scary to me, and I wasn't sure I wanted to watch it.
It is a bit scary, I think.
Yes, I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you.
Is it like the what's the one
Us?
where they take the Black people and make them into their image of what they think Black people are?
I don't want to give anything away to you guys or the viewers watching, but it's definitely a cliffhanger. It's definitely some graphic images. Yeah, there's graphic images in there. Like I didn't even expect them to take it all the way where they took it. But I feel like it's necessary. And like I told my wife, like it's this, there are things in the world going on and have been going on that we can't escape from. We can't turn a blind eye to or put our head in the sand over. Like it's the harsh realities involving kids, sometimes animals, sometimes different races, different genders, different ages. This is just what the world is. And for a series and for people like to take the harsh realities that's going on in the world and really depict it on screen like that, I commend them. I think they did a fantastic job. It's unfortunate what the images and realities that they had to portray and act out, but I think they did an excellent job executing these things.
And there was so much more. First of all, what's up, Len? We see him in the chat.
Brother Len, what's going on?
And Mikkel also said, excuse me, I really liked Shirley Temple growing up, but watching her in these movies, yeah. She was like pushing, she was doing what Nicole was talking about. She was the child that was telling the adult what to do, and the adult was just sitting there like he was the kid and okay, and blah, blah. It hurts my heart to see that. And all these different tropes that they had about us. It makes me ask the question, why?
Mm-hmm.
Because before they brought us here, they were already in power. You brought us to your country. So it was yours already. You ran things.
And a lot of the things that we saw as being violent, you know, against other people, we learned from watching them.
Yes.
Honestly. You know, it's not even to play victim or use any excuses. It is what it is. Like, you know, that's the first time my wife turned to me and said, you know, look, like there's things that we have to go back to from the beginning and really assess and look at, you know, in terms of like how these hoods are structured and what's being put into the hood and drugs and this and that. Like, come on now. If y'all want to talk about Black people being violent or selling drugs to one another, and you know, we're the aggressive, angry ones, let's dig beneath that. Let's go beneath the surface and really analyze things on both accords, Black and white and every other race. Let's go through it.
Right. Because this needs to be a human thing.
Yes.
Eventually,
right.
Hopefully we get to a place where we get out of color, because to me, it's actually kind of ridiculous that we label each other by a color that none of us are. I mean,
Right.
we know a couple of us Black folk are really Black or have a purplish hue.
Right.
And we know some white folk, usually they're not white. There are some that are a little pasty, but in general, we're not Black and white. And we're definitely not yellow and all these other ones that they give for the other ethnicities.
And I've always said that. I've said that in a recent verse where I was speaking about systemic oppression and police injustice, about a crayon box. That's why I've all this color, people of color, I've never been into that. Never been into it, because number one of the reasons being it reminds me of the whole colored people thing, which I heard a lot fluently throughout this movie and throughout my life. People, the colored people, or you know, from either older folks or just racist people. The coloreds. So now we've adopted that and call it people of color. I'm not with it. I'm not with it.
Adopted the
That's just me.
So.
Exactly. A lot of us have adopted that too, which is why I've never said that either.
And we're gonna do an episode eventually on that.
We need to.
That's a whole thing in itself.
Let's talk about it.
I agree. Lynn had a
comment. He said,
comment up.
"You have it, or you want me to repeat it back for you?"
Well, he was talking about the why. I mean, you can repeat his comment.
He said, "Why after slavery until now, it is the fear of the Black planet." Oh, he said why, and then the answer.
Yeah, the why is right. Yeah. The answer is right, and that's. I was thinking the same thing. I think in the beginning, I think it was about, you know, we need some slaves, we need some people to do the work we don't want to do. Mm-hmm. Yes, they were in power, but I think, you know, it was about like getting some people to just be slaves, and it is about this caste system. I mean, even in Africa, you know, before we were taken and brought over to a different land, there was a caste system there as well. You know, there were African kings who had their people who were pretty much slaves to them, you know. So I think now, though, right now, the why is definitely about fear of the Black planet, because I think they see how we excel no matter what we get into. And it was so funny because you know how we sort of take over a lot of the different sports and stuff like that, or whatever it is. And I remember I got some free tickets to go to the garden. The lacrosse. I was with a friend of mine. She had some free tickets to go to this lacrosse game. And we were like, lacrosse, okay. But we just went not expecting to see any Black people. We got there and it was one Black player, and we were like rooting for him just because he was Black. Because we're like, whoa. And then we realized there's a whole Black lacrosse players association. You know, there are Black lacrosse players across the nation, you know. So and he was holding his own. I mean, you know, and so I think, you know, you look at golf, basketball, football, whatever, ballet, you know, even with our, you know, larger bottoms and different shaped bodies and everything. I mean, they thought that was going to stop us. And then we have, Misty Copeland, who, and others, Alvin Ailey dance troupe and others.
Yeah. Yes. Remember Dominique Dawes?
Right.
MD.
So we come in and take over. And then even in business, we have a lot of people who are unafraid. And I mean, that's what kills me right now. It's like, do you really think we're going to go back?
No, we're not. Right.
Like I'm trying to understand what people are thinking right now. Like, do you really think Black people are trying to go back?
Yeah, right. But the fear, you're absolutely right when you spoke to why they fear and why they fear now. But I also think what part of that fear is the conditioning. So think about if you're a white person or a person that's just non-Black, let's say, and you don't really know any Black people, but all you know about Black people is what you've seen through the years and what you've been told by other people from what they've seen through the years, like what the clips we just saw. They literally fear us because Hollywood made sure to make us seem lazy, but they also made sure to make sure we seem dangerous, menace to society, which is so crazy because it's like they tried to make us look like menaces in films, but it's white people playing them. That's simple-minded.
And look,
followers are.
When you take that to today's times, what was dangerous under our last presidential administration was when people go out and I'm not gonna say that it was just them doing the looting, but when you have people who are just out there just to cause trouble, like, hey, this is my chance to just cause some havoc, and no one, I can pretend it's an excuse because I'm down for the movement. And but what it does is because you're interfering with the people who are actually there for the movement, and now it looks like these people, Black Lives Matter, those people are dangerous. And then it creates this narrative that the Black Lives Matter movement now is dangerous. And even adding in people, planting people who are dangerous to align with that movement to make it look like the movement and the people affiliated with it are the dangerous ones. Yeah. And then now I can declare martial law because these people are a menace to society. These people are dangerous to us. And we need these things in place, so we have to be careful, even, in our movements as well.
Very careful. Vic, I want both of you to interject. You just said something that made me think. So, how whenever a Black person does something, in the back of our minds, we feel like we got to get this right and knock it out the park, because we know that not only are we representing ourselves, but unfortunately, we're going to be a representation of Black people, period, in this circumstance, because they don't view us individually. They view us, once one does it, it's like, oh,
right. Blanket statements. Yeah.
And it's like, where does that come from? And when, as Nicole was speaking, I was just thinking, look at those clips. In those clips, usually it was one Black person they would show at a time, one Black thing, even though it was different narratives and it was still one Black person at a time. So in that conditioning, it's almost like they can only see one at a time, not one at a time, but they judge things singularly.
Right.
Because that's how it was given to them. Now, eventually, to me, you should be able to make up your own mind and your own decisions and thoughts, but who's to say? Some can, some aren't mentally strong enough to get to that place where they can shed the things they were taught and get to what feels right.
Right. Because it starts from a young age. Honestly, my personal belief is you're not born into this world hating other people, other races, people that don't look like you. It's taught to you. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I just had a friend reach out to me. I didn't get to read the message yet. This older white lady, very beautiful person, who's been in dispute with her family members about the whole Black Lives Matter movement and her cause and her support for the movement.
Dispute. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's okay. I haven't read the whole message yet, but it's just the basic of, I'm sure it's all lives matter, blue lives matter, any life matters other than just Black Lives Matter, or anything to rebuke that statement, that movement. You know, just her views in support of justice and equality and fairness. You know what I mean? Some people are just traditionally ignorant, you know, just adamant about the hatred, adamant about the hatred.
Yes, yeah. With that, ignorance is bliss, you know, especially when you're living in privilege.
Yes,
right. You don't want to deal with it. You don't want to have, you empathize, but then when it's like right there in our back, like I live, here in Montgomery County, Maryland, and I didn't mean to pull out there in the open. Well, anyway,
are you hitting you up now?
That part out.
Be on the search.
Anyway,
doing
but
okay.
But anyway, there are a lot of people, and I mean, this is a very progressive county, so I appreciate that. But there are a lot of people here that also, are like, well, yeah, we're down for that. But then do we want them living next door? I don't know. If this is coming in my backyard, I don't know. So it's I think from a distance, they're okay with supporting the cause. But when it comes in your backyard and it's like, oh, well, I don't know if I really want to.
It's dating your daughter.
Right, exactly.
And that there becomes the difference between not being a racist and anti-racist. Anti-racism is when you're actually more active and, outspoken about fighting against these injustices and, So
yeah. But let me just say there were a lot. I was very, very proud though, seeing when there were a lot of the during the George Floyd movement, I think but right. I think during that time there were a lot of people, who were not Black who came out. I was really, really proud to see this. When we talk about stereotypes, they look like the stereotypical white family from the suburbs. And I'm sure they were. I was, in a particular part of town that was just like, you used to seeing certain people. And it was like, daughter, son, and a mother and dad, and they had their signs. I mean, I was just like, look at y'all, go ahead, y'all. I mean, because they even made signs. The fact that they even took the time to make signs, Black Lives Matter. And I was like, this is so nice, so I think it was. So I will say that about them as well. And yes, the views expressed here are my own and none, not of any others.
Right. And we in the chats, Ill Equation said that's why I'm in the process of getting my gun permit, which I understand. I was somebody who was always against that. I understood others, but I'm like, I wasn't for it. But as the times grow,
or for a gun permit,
for the times grow, as times grow, I'm starting to feel a little differently. Not saying that I'm just like, oh, well, it's time to get that pistol, but I'm just saying I understand it a lot more, especially now.
Yeah, from a protection perspective, most definitely. I mean,
I'm not getting it for nothing else. I'm not,
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's not so right. It's not so black or white or cut and dry. It's usually either handled one way or the other way.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it's that's why I've always felt like it's been good, like for free choice, pretty much. If you decide to carry legally or not,
Yeah. Well,
you just gotta use it responsibly, though.
That's what I mean. Exactly.
Of course. But Vic, when you said people aren't born hating, that's such a real, true point. In that moment, I'm not gonna lie, it made me think for a second, like, what if there was a baby that was just born hating? Like, what would that baby look like? Remember the Nerf balls that used to have the mad faces on them?
Of course.
It would be like one of those. Looking at the mama, it slaps the doctor, it throws up mama. I hate all y'all. Wah! Sorry.
Nah, but it's true when you think about it and you watch a child's body language, facial expressions, and their behavior in general. It's things that they normally pick up on and they observe from their surroundings, their parents. You know what I mean? So it's clear to me, at least in my opinion, where the hatred develops and comes from at an early age.
It's learned behavior. Yeah.
All of it is learned. And it's just, it brings me back to the question of why. Like, we should sit back as Black people and feel and think to ourselves, yo, we are really dope. We are really powerful.
Absolutely.
Because look at all the things they have pitted against us. Let's get past slavery. They did slavery because they wanted the free labor and they wanted to build up their country for free. Okay. But past that, the clips what we just saw about Black people and how they portrayed them in Hollywood, the injustices to us in the justice system, police brutality, all these things that are against us. Why? Because it's not focused that same way you would think on other ethnicities the same. But so why? Why is all of that, and why was all of that energy put into trying to put us in a place? Why?
I think part of it too, it's a good question. I don't even know if any of us can even answer it
fully
for another, group of people. But I think part of it also is, first is power, but the cruelty that group of people, and I'm just putting them all into a group, not that everybody is like that. The cruelty that they have done to other people or to Black people, the things that they've done to suppress Black people, the mind games, not necessarily just the physical aspect, but the mind games. It is, I think, the fear of now, if they do become the dominant race, now they will do the same to us. It's like that person, it's like the boyfriend that's always accusing you of cheating because they're cheating.
Because they was,
you know what I mean? Because that's how they're thinking. That's where their mind is. And so if you're already doing that to somebody else, you think everybody else is thinking the same way you are.
Yeah. Ironically, though, if that boyfriend, like these people in the country, if they were just trying to act right and do right, then the other people would follow suit as well. We wouldn't no one would try to take control over you if you're like, we're in this together. If you bring somebody to your house and you say, take off your shoes, here's some, you feed them, you give them something to drink, you're hanging out, you're chilling, they shouldn't have reason or a feeling to rob you because you've welcomed them into your home openly. They're like, if anything, they're going to feel like family. So why was that not the mind state? Instead, the mindset is, oh, we got to control them before they control us. That shows you where they were at.
Right.
It's just I think it's beyond rationale at this point, honestly. I don't think there's any way to wrap your head around it and say, oh, well, this is just to explain to them, this is wrong. This is just wrong. Why do you treat me this way? They don't care. You know what I mean? To sit here and try to rationalize irrational behavior and racism is just far beyond us at this point.
You're right.
There's no deep science behind it. It's just wrong. It's ignorant. It's control. It's power. It's authoritative. It's control.
Bullying.
Bullying. Exactly. All the above.
What's I forget. What is his name? The military guy who was bullying the young Black man, just walking around in the neighborhood where he lived, and he's telling him he needs to get out and pushing him and everything. I mean,
but
because
I need to hear that whole story. I need to hear that whole story though,
Man,
that's when I
get
saw
me started
some
on this
video footage, and from what they were saying, what some people were saying online was the young brother, and this was in South Carolina. The young brother got into some type of argument with some woman or some young lady who was
supposedly lived there in the community. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this gentleman stepped in. If that's what happened, I'm not totally mad at that, because if they were the same race, would this even be an issue the same way?
No. And I agree. I was trying to understand what happened before the video footage we keep seeing. Because I did hear that there was, they mentioned it. The wife who was filming mentioned it, that, there was somebody, he was arguing with someone. And however, if the guy says he lives in the neighborhood, from what I saw, the guy is saying he lives in the neighborhood, and, he's like, okay, well, let me go on about my way. And he was like, no, you need to go this way. And, that's the way you need to go. Well, if that's not the way he wants to go, if he wants to move on about his business, because I don't see, we didn't see the person he allegedly was arguing with anywhere around in that video. So at that point, the argument's over. So you go on about your business and let me go on about my business. And instead, he's standing there bullying him, yelling in his face like he's on one of those little army shows, military shows.
Yeah, straight, right.
Hey, get on about that. And I'll be in your, all up in his face and everything, like he's some drill sergeant, and then even pushes him, and so, and that, I think that to me is where, he's like, and if, I'll remove you, I'll do what I have to do. And, basically like he's going to lay hands on this young man. Yeah. And to me, I thought that encounter when he was trying to walk away and, the guy just kept following him and bullying him, to me, I just felt like that was uncalled for.
Look,
he got arrested.
I don't mean to break, but didn't it sound to me just now? It sounded like Nicole's about to call that young N-word. She's about to call him.
No. I wasn't, but he probably was going there with him.
That's what he was considered, though. But I didn't see the video footage where he was telling him which direction to go. I did see him push him. So to me, that's where you go to.
Well, there's different.
Let me tell you something.
I can send them to you, but there are different clips that I saw that had more of, the one I sent to you was just a truncated version, and then I've seen a couple of them that were a little bit more footage.
What I do love though is that when something happens, our people are like gathering and saying, "Hold up, we're not having this."
Right.
Right.
But
Vic sent me a video of a dude I disagreed with most everything he said, but there was one thing that he did mention.
Brandon Tatum. In case you may be watching, or this gets past your radar, because I got some things to say about that too. But
I don't know if I think I shouldn't have let that dog off the leash just now.
Too late.
It's like too late. Rough. Here we go.
I don't know that one. What was?
Well,
this dude is a clown, man.
We're not even going to get into him necessarily. Let's just say he's like a Candace Parker. He's cut from that cloth. Okay.
Candace Owens.
Candace Owens.
Mm-hmm.
Candace Parker. Jesus, Christmas. Totally different person. So, but what he was mentioning was he was asking the question, why don't Black people get together on something when it comes to Black on Black crimes?
But drugs being sold in the community.
Y'all need to all be in front of the crack house and be like, this needs to stop. Right. Which I agree with.
Or even the Asian hate.
Asian hate. All right. We might as well go there. Now that you segue. Okay. Because the Black.
Well, I do agree, but people speaking up about the Black on Black crimes as well.
Yeah.
And the things going on in our communities.
Yes, I agree. But see, it's not as simple as that. As you know, it's not as simple as us just formulating in front of this crack house or like this crack dealer is the villain. even though in a way they are, but we know that a lot of our people have been put in some really, really dire circumstances that put them in these positions in life. They've conditioned us and done things to put us, more of us than not, in these type of positions. Mm-hmm. Some of us that aren't in these positions in life, we've had to fight to do that, or our parents did. My parents fought so that I didn't have to fight that fight, or that same fight of, do I have to sell crack to get by? Thankfully, you know. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm just, you know, I get excited sometimes when I'm talking about our people.
Thank you for not selling crack.
Thank you. You know, because if I sold crack, I wouldn't have met Mikkel, first of all. Into a crack dealer type of thing.
The thing, I wanted to go back to that incident with the I wanted to go back to the incident with the young gentleman and the sergeant, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's different versions floating around. I think what really ruffled a lot of people's feathers was we're in a time where racial tension is at its highest, honestly, with everything going on with the George Floyd case, everything that happened last year. So it's still fresh on people's minds. So people are automatically going to go to the defense, and to me, justifiably so. You're seeing this young man, and they talk about like just being cooperative, not resisting arrest or being aggressive. Well, to me, from what I saw in this video, this young man wasn't being aggressive at all. He was walking along, speaking very moderately, very respectfully. He kept his hands to himself. His body language was calm, and this dude was completely intimidating, you know, aggressive, bullying, getting loud and abrasive. So, and then he put hands on the kid too. And this is a grown man versus what the guy was like, what, 20 something, had to be 20, no more than 20 years old. And the thing about it is he's asking him, or he's telling him, like, this is a tight knit community. I've never seen you around here before. Where do you live? And the guy's like, well, I live around here. I don't live far from here. And he's like, well, where do you live? And the guy's like,
sorry. So Steve just said in the comments, when I said I wouldn't, because Mikkel wouldn't have been into crack dealers, he said you would have met Big Mike in a cell and not Mikkel. And it rhymed. So he's giving us bars too.
You're right.
Wow.
But yeah, and you know what, the thing too, Vic, I mean, the guy was like a little scrawny kind of guy, you know, in the I don't know if he was a sergeant or not. Yes. And whoever, I don't know what his rank was, but you know, the man in the military, I mean, he was buff.
Brolic. Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So I mean, and then he's out there with no shoes on. So clearly he just felt like, you know, I'm gonna come out here.
He was bullying and intimidating. He was intimidating the guy. And the thing also I wanted to say was that he was the gentleman, the younger gentleman was asking him, where are you from? And him and his wife responded, it's none of your business. But they have every right to interrogate this dude, not pick up the phone and call the police, put hands and push the dude alongside. Yeah. You know, they just felt it their right to do every and anything to intimidate him. It's entitlement. It's that privilege, and they call it. We live in this community. We basically we pay taxes, so we have the right to do every and anything to anybody who comes through. We consider not a part of our community, a part of us.
Yeah,
nah.
Of course they do, Vic. That's just like the little girl that we watched, where the little girl's pushing the adult. What was her name? Shirley Temple. She's pushing the adult, treating him like it's a kid.
Right.
So if your parents are raised, or your grandparents, and then your parents, and then you're taught this same thing, this Shirley Temple mentality that you're seeing, where this young girl is pushing around adults. This is what we get. This is what we get, and it's not our fault. But I'm just saying, this is the result, is what I mean. Big up to my dude, Omega Jones is in the house. Appreciate you tuning in, brother. Salute to you. He's actually out in MD as well. Well, he's back and forth in MD. And Lynn said they more caught than taught, meaning kids do what they see more than what they hear us say. Ill equation. I remember seeking. Go ahead, Nicole. What were you going to say?
No, I was actually, he was talking about Jones Beach, the comment you were about to read. Yeah, I mean, go ahead. You can read the comment. But
the first one says, I remember seeing X-Clan at Jones Beach, and they got mad because no one was chanting close the crack
house. Yeah.
Who was gonna chant that?
And then he said, and y'all can yell, throw your guns in the air, but can't say close the crack house.
Yeah.
You know.
Think about this again. So in the record industry, the record executives were these old white dudes. Or white people, period. Let's just say, whether they're white dudes or white women, they were white people. Adults, step back and look at this. Adults are getting these kids to put out these albums, and this is since the beginning of rap, about violence. And they're supporting it, they're making money off of it, and they're profiting off of all of that until the person either gets locked up or shot and killed. So where is, like, these are adults. So in every step, every phase of this, they don't have respect for us, whether it's for the adults, for children, for women. You see how the mammies were, how they made sure they were always overweight and black to hide the fact that in reality, the women who were brought into the house were the thin or slimmer, light-skinned women who they then raped routinely. If they're raping our communities to this day, there's no way in the world we wouldn't believe that they were raping our women back then. There was no one to police them. They were the police. Mm-hmm. It's sickening. It really is.
To say the least, yeah.
It's sickening. So before we go, we definitely wanted to at least begin to broach this same topic of ethnic stereotypes when it comes to Asians, because that's becoming a more prevalent topic in this time, as it should. Because if you think about it, it's the same with Asians. It's the same with any considered minority or foreigner to this country.
And not even just in this time. It's been going on for years and centuries.
No, that's been going on for years. But now in this time, the conversation of it is starting to happen.
Well, it was funny. Chris Rock had a stand-up, I think, when George W. Bush was in office, and trying to remember the name of it, but in the background he had the flag waving and everything. And one of the jokes he had in there, he was talking about, because it was like shortly after 9/11, I believe, and he was talking about, everybody is, the attacks were towards the other Asians, not the chinky-eyed Asians, but more of like the East Indians and Muslims, that people who look like Muslims and everything, because we were told there were Muslims that attacked the Twin Towers. Mm-hmm. And so then his joke was about it always came back around to Black people, but he was like, right now it's, I'm butchering this joke, but anyway, I don't know if you guys remember it, but right now everybody's talking about these Muslims and people who look like
N-words. I think he called them sand.
I forgot how he, but anyway, the thing is that he was like, pretty soon, he was like, that train is never late, pretty soon it's gonna come back around to Black people. But it was like, that was their time. Now it's Asians, because people put it out there that it's the China virus, so now it's their turn.
I'm just gonna say this, and this might not be popular. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, though, the thing is that even with that, Black people always still that racism always still comes back around to Black people.
It does. And let me say this: what I think these other communities, because now the Asian community is speaking up more, and other communities will as well. Gay people they've been trying to speak up and be heard for a long time. But I wish they understood early on that the speaking up should have started with this Black plight. Because to me, for a long time, a lot of Asian people, especially older Asian people, older Latinos, they were not involved. They didn't want to be a part of because they weren't grouped together with Black people. So they didn't want to have the stigma or what a white person might call the stink of Blackness on them. So they stayed away from that. But the more we fight for this together, because right now Asians are saying, nah, we want all of y'all to fight with us. Well, guess what? We want the same thing. Because once we all do this together, we understand that regardless of your ethnicity, the plight is the plight. It may differ because of ethnicity, but it's still the plight. It's still a fight that we have to fight together.
Agreed.
And dig up to the Asians and other people of other ethnicities that have been with us all the way along, because they are out there.
Well, I was going to say, I hope that people who, you know, and Latinos had their turn when, you know, we because even though there were other people who were immigrants, the focus was on the Latino immigrants and Latino immigrants from a particular country as well. You know, it's mostly Mexican, but, you know, the Venezuelans and Cubans and, you know, other Latinos got looped in there. But, you know, but in any event, you know, everybody has had their turn, but it'd be great. And I know that there are some from all of these different groups that assist with Black people, but it would be great that when we have these masses who speak out against Asian hate or against Latinos, that they also would speak out against the Black people.
Yes.
You know, because Black people, like I said, it always comes back around to where we're always still in that mix, you know, of people who get marginalized.
Yep. Always. It always comes back to us. Vic, you were going to say something when she mentioned Latino?
No, I was just thinking exactly what she brought forth into the conversation. I was thinking how we've gone through a lot of stereotypes and persecution as well. You know, anything that ain't white ain't right, according to some of these racist people.
Bars. I'm
not even saying all white people, but those who think, you know, that way.
Yeah,
that's how they look at things. So
imagine the strength of if the disenfranchised united, because white culture, they're copiers. They copy everything. They Black people, Latin people, Asian people, just those three alone. Look at all the things we've created, all the things they've copied or adopted or taken as their own. Like, if we just took those three ethnicities away, America wouldn't even have much of a real culture. They get most of their culture when it comes to food or otherwise from all of us. They get some of their flair, even from the gay community. All these things, like if we all just pulled away from that, from them, they would have a problem on their hands. Anyway, I would love.
That's a good point.
I know we're towards the end of the episode. I would still love to play this video because we need to see. This needs to be seen. Can you show this, please? It's like 2.5 minutes, so it's shorter.
Carradine and those guys did a good job, I must say, but it just felt a little weird because, is this guy really Chinese? You know what I mean?
Well, in Hollywood at the time, there was only one Eurasian kung fu master, right? There was just Bruce Lee.
And he had this idea to do sort of an Eastern Western kung fu kind of movie.
How else can you justify all these punching and kicking and violence except in the period of the West?
They were interested in talking to him about it and thought it was a great idea, but they also realized that his accent would keep them from putting him on screen.
And then suddenly, Warner Brothers comes out with a series that looks a lot like his series.
They needed an actor who looked a little more Western and who sounded Western.
Did you already know Kung Fu or Karate? Were you,
I heard the word twice before.
So, a drug-addled white guy who doesn't know any Kung Fu gets the part, whereas the Eurasian Kung Fu master, who's the most famous martial artist in the history of the universe, doesn't get the part.
hey, it's America, you know, where they would do those kind of things. It's amazing how America finds a way to put that old wine in a new bottle.
Once World War II happens, Asian Americans are no longer allowed to have lead roles, even when they're casting Chinese character parts. For example, Fu Manchu or Charlie Chan.
Hiding place discovered. One wax figure suddenly developed telltale scars on back of...
They cast white guys in yellow face.
When I started, I definitely tried to veer away from martial arts in that I was afraid. I was afraid that it was going to be stereotypical. But why is that a problem? There's nothing inherently wrong with an Asian character doing martial arts. It's just when an Asian character is reduced to nothing but martial arts.
Sometimes, even if a character has to be Asian, the actor doesn't have to. We all know the most egregious examples. John Wayne as Genghis Khan, Christopher Lee as Fu Manchu, Mickey Rooney as the fucking Antichrist.
Whitewashing continues to be a major problem in Hollywood, from Scarlett Johansson in Ghost in the Shell to Tilda Swinton in Doctor Strange.
Chun-Li is one of the most famous Chinese lady in gaming history. She goes by no other name than her Chinese name. Even her in-game costume is a modified Chinese Chen Zhang. Her Chinese heritage is as much a defining feature as her kung fu kicks. So you can understand my disappointment when some executives took a look at Kristen Kirk and said, "Yeah, she looks Asian enough to me." The weird part is, the film shows Chun-Li as a child and she looked Chinese, but then she grew up and bam, she's half Chinese, half Dutch. Now, I understand the concept of adaptations, changing the characters and locations, localizing the film so that American audience can watch the film without the need to be a foreign cultural expert. Take Ringu and the Ring for example. The lead character, who's a single mother, acts very stoic and subdued in the Japanese film. She's the guardian of her son. In the American version, now set in the US, the mother is confrontational, but also acts like a friend to her son. The cultural differences meant these characters must act differently.
See, and this exact clip that you just showed is exactly why Bruce Lee, one of the reasons of why Bruce Lee is one of my top favorite inspirations of all time, because these are things that he addressed within his films. It wasn't just the and the charismatic, talented, skilled martial artist that you saw in front of your screen. This guy was addressing all types of racial injustices, inequalities that was going on at that time, you know, and he did it well. He addressed it well.
It's terrible. You know, seeing those clips makes me really think like there's so much more that I have to learn, and that's okay. Because I used to love the Charlie Chan movies. That was just old school murder mystery stuff. A lot of those things that they showed, I've seen those movies or whatever, and didn't really pay much mind to the fact that they were whitewashing, or when Mickey Rooney or whatever his name was playing the Asian character and he had the buck teeth. You know how many times they've shown an Asian dude with buck teeth, or he's and when we imitate or mimic them, we go into that place. Like there's a place we go if we mimic a black person, a white person, an Indian person, an Asian person. And it all comes from these stereotypes in most cases. Like that's sad.
And this is why I say you got to salute Bruce Lee, who to me taught me at an early age about the Fu Manchu and the Kung Fu and the Kato and how they really highlighted the white dude above the martial artist. You know, they tried to. You know, like he touched on me.
Howard, listen, Bruce Lee. You've got Bruce Lee. So they're so jealous and hateful that they were like, we're not going to take the most famous and dopest martial artist and one of the dopest people ever to do this movie. We're going to steal his idea. I said it earlier. They are copycats. It's a nation full of Xerox copies. They just keep sending out more copies. They take his movie and decide, oh, we're gonna take his idea and not hire someone Asian. We're going to hire a white dude who's only heard the word kung fu twice in his life. He showed up to the first audition high and was terrible. And they brought him back and gave him another chance to audition. He wasn't taking it seriously. Even in the interview, you saw he's like, yeah, I never kung fu. Kung fu? Huh?
Yeah,
that was him. So that's sad. They're scared. They fear our power. We've been saying this all night. They fear our power. Let's take a couple more.
Just say,
go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, I mean, I think, because we're now smarter, we know better, we have more resources. This is the time to learn from that and have our own media companies, have our own banks, our own resources, whatever it is, hotels, shout out to my Delta Sorors and the Lynx right now. I'm missing an Anthony Hamilton concert right now. We're having our 75th anniversary. Well, not the 75th anniversary, but it's 75 years of Lynx been in existence. But the Eastern region is having a conference right now. But the thing is that when I think about these organizations that I belong to, we spend, if we weren't in a virtual world, we'd be in Philadelphia right now. My Delta convention is slated to be in Atlanta, Georgia. We've been all over to all of these different states, spending all kinds of money in these convention halls and hotels.
Yeah.
And sometimes I even feel like they are overcharging us and giving us less amenities because they hear this Black sorority is coming, or this Black women's organization is coming, or whatever organization, this Black organization is coming. And we can give them, right, exactly. If we own these things, if we owned our own convention centers, we owned our own hotels and stuff, airlines, whatever. Just saying.
Everything. Like you see, Tyler Perry, shout out to Tyler Perry. Like when Houston passed and somebody else passed, he was like, they announced that, they're flying the body on Tyler Perry's plane.
Right, his plane, right.
These are the things we need. Or like Will Smith is in the middle of a film production right now in Atlanta. When he got wind of what was happening with the voter suppression, mainly because the MLB backed away from Georgia as well because of that. He's now back. He's now packed his bags and said, okay, we're not filming here in Atlanta anymore.
Right. But that's the thing, taking our economic power and pulling out of that. I think there are conversations, I did mention Georgia, but I don't know if we're even going to be there. But I'm just saying, use that as an example of the different places. But that's a great example of using our economic power, but now, we see Hollywood entertainment industry, they've been the way they are. They've portrayed us in negative light for years. They've left us out of, I have a friend of mine who is an actress, and we were asking her about how does she feel about even, other actors, like British actors or people with British accents seems to be the thing these days, even in even on like news political shows that I watch. It's like they prefer to have this person with this British accent. I don't know. But anyway, as opposed to, Black actors and actresses who are right here, they would prefer to take another, some white person and make them Asian or make them, Black or whatever.
Right. Yes.
So now we have to just own our own, we have these great Black casting agents, we have resources to build our own entertainment companies. We have to just take control of that.
We have to support, that's why I appreciate you two. And that's why I appreciate people like Steve who watches our content, because Jersey Art Productions is one of those companies that wants to do exactly what Nicole is talking about. And when we have the resources and the funds to actually do those things, it won't just be words, it'll be actions, and hopefully setting examples for others and leaving breadcrumbs to the legacy of here's the way we did it. Here's the way you can do it, and update it for the times that you live in. You know, real quick.
You talk about Tyler Perry. I mean, he's got a whole studio.
Come
right
on,
now.
I'm talking about. I need that. But you know, that takes time. It takes support because Tyler, there was times where he was spending all of his money for his play, and he would have like 2 people in the audience for a year straight, at least. That's what he was facing. Do you know how many people would have quit? 2 shows in, a few shows in. Vic would have been talking me off the ledge of quitting that my daggone self. He would have been, you know what I'm saying? Like, so that's strength. And with support, we're even stronger. When Nicole mentions us and we need to do this, that us is not just black people. It's us like-minded people. It's us people of ethnicity, you know? Couple of quick comments. Chakra said, don't forget the cartoons. Dear God, the racism of old cartoons.
Oh, man.
That's a whole episode in itself. But anyway, we are going to head out for the night. Isabel, I see you. Hello, what up to you, sister? Hola. And this was good tonight. You know, I felt like
shout out to mommy.
Hours. Shout out to
Mother Drew.
Shout out to Mother Drew in the building. How many times you get to say that? We love that. We love the support. We love your support. Make sure everyone to go to our YouTube channel and subscribe so you can keep current with our content, because we got a lot of things happening. And not only do we collectively have a lot happening, we individually have a lot going on too, especially my brother Vic with the podcasting and everything else that he's doing.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you.
The last things you guys want to say before we go? You people, you're not you guys.
Nicole?
You know, I'm speechless tonight, but you know, thank y'all for coming out. God bless and good night.
No, you didn't just hit us with the okay. All right. I'm not even going to say his name because that's another one that's banished now. What did Steve say here? He said a lot of our people do big things individually. We just have to come together. Agreed.
Absolutely.
Steve, to make things happen. Agreed. Vic?
Oh, well, let me just say, yeah. Speaking of artists, I have my niece and my daughter at Imogen, IMOGEN. That's my daughter. So follow her Instagram, Facebook, I think too.
What is she doing?
She sings. She's a fabulous singer, but she also writes music. You know, and her boyfriend is her producer right now. But you know, she's a fabulous singer. So you know, maybe one day we need to have her come on and just do a set. You know, or at least a song.
A song, yes, a set.
A song,
okay.
not a set. A song. You know, I'm not in the entertainment.
I know you, mama. You like give her a set.
Yeah, I'm just mama. That's gonna make sure, like, make sure this is in the contract. But and my niece, my older sister's daughter, Marty. She goes by Marty Drew. She was named after my dad, Martin Drew, and so her full name is Martinique Drew Woodley, but she goes by Marty Drew. And she is a poet and also raps and sings.
Yeah.
Nice.
Vic, she's dope. Both Vic, first of all, both of these individuals are dope. And I'm not just saying that because the family's here.
Yeah.
Right.
And because they're family, it's the truth. Like Imani has a really dope voice and sound. And Marty is, from what I saw, Vic, she's a dope MC. She's got that thing. She's young, you know. She's got that thing, though, dude.
What's? I'm gonna have to check it out. What's the page? The Instagram page again? Or the information?
I mean, I'll send it to you.
I know. I think Marty is at MARTI Drew DREW, and Imani is Imogen. I am as in Mary OGEN.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check them out.
Mm-hmm. And I'll make sure to send that to you as well.
Please
and
do.
Share that with others. You know, so everyone, we appreciate. What were you gonna say, brother?
No, I said that's dope. Definitely. I'm looking forward to checking out the the music, the material.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to send you that because, like I said, we got to support the talent and keep cultivating and circulating. Because if we just kept circulating the money and the energy amongst the people, it would just keep going and keep growing. It doesn't stop. It's a circle. It'll just keep circulating.
Right.
You know, but it's so hard to do that because everyone's so focused on their individual hustle. And I get it. You got tunnel vision. But
sorry, Imani is 143 Imogen.
143 Imogen. Okay, 143 IMOGN. So that's
right.
143 IMOGN. G. 143. Hold on, I'm old. 143 IMOGEN.
Right.
Let's put it up there. That's Imogen. 143 Imogen. There you go. For those that didn't understand my stumbling. So one last thing we wanted to. Do you have that poster?
Yes.
Oh, Vic, did you have any more shout outs first, Vic, before we go?
Yeah, just go through Instagram, Facebook to check out my podcast information. That's Victory is Ours, the podcast on Instagram and Facebook. I have some new content out real soon. Looking forward to working with a very special friend later this evening that I'm really excited about. That'll be out soon. And just a quick plug for that Them movie. Y'all need to check that out. Just really in the center of everything that we spoke about through this episode tonight. I believe that y'all are really.
I did, Steve. I got it right.
These comments, man. But y'all go check out that movie, Them, exclusively through Amazon Prime. Must see, must watch, must watch. So a lot of the points that y'all made tonight is exemplified through this series.
Yeah,
really,
I'm glad
really
you
well
mentioned
done.
it because I wasn't gonna watch it because
you need to must see. I highly encourage you to check it out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll do a review on it. You know, one of our movie review episodes. So anyway, we're gonna head out for the night. We would like to show this one flyer real quick for an event that's happening that's all about protecting Asian lives, okay, and Black lives, which we appreciate.
Did Mikkel design that?
No, she did not.
Whoever did the thing with that joint.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a gathering in care and solidarity, and that's going to be on Saturday, April 17th, 2021, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. That's in East River Park at the amphitheater with speakers and performances. So if you'd like to see this flyer, we will make sure to post it on the Jersey Art pages so that more people can see it. But these are the type of things. These are the events that we want to promote and be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you to those that created this event and everyone involved. Thank you for not only saying Asian lives, but adding Black lives in here because you really didn't have to in that moment, nor would I have expected you to, because you got to speak for your plight. It's one at a time. That's like when we say Black lives and they yell all lives, and we're like, what the hell? It's the same here. That's like going to a daggone cancer walk and somebody's like, AIDS matters too. Get this nincompoop out of here. Anyway, peace, love, Greece. Good night, y'all.
Good night.
Stay safe, y'all. Blessings.
Keep your TCB on deck. Because if your hair is short and the bed, TCB will make you happy. Good night. Oh, we're not leaving yet? We're not ending the broadcast. I don't see end broadcast over here, so I'm still live. Peace. We love you.